you?
I'm good, considering my age.
Yeah? Hey guys, well here we are at the historical DiCenso's Drum Shop, formerly in Quincy, now in Weymouth, with my teacher and mentor, Dick DiCenso. So maybe you could give us a little history on your teaching and when you opened up the shop and how that started.
That's a long time ago, Joseph. But,
What was the year?
well, I started teaching because my band director in junior high school gave me 2 students at the time who couldn't read, but they were in the band and sort of playing by ear. So I think I was about 14 years old when I had my first 2 students. And that was in Quincy, 90 Interivew Street. My dad built a little studio downstairs in the house there. I would say I went from there to Randolph, and I think you started studying with me in Randolph, I think, before.
Like 1980 maybe?
80.
Yeah.
Probably before, wasn't it? How old do you think when you started?
Well, I took a lesson from you probably in 76.
Yeah, that's
and you were like filled up, and I only took 1 lesson from you. And you, I think I was a little young or something at that point. I was like 7 or 8, and then I just studied with this other guy at Ashington and Holbrook. Then I went back to you when I was in 6th grade. I think that was 79 or 80.
Yeah. Well, I opened the shop in Quincy in 81. And then I sold the shop to South Shore Music in 2005.
Okay, so what happened between those years?
Yeah, lots happened. Well, you know, I guess from teaching at age 14, obviously by the time I had opened the shop, I had built some kind of a teaching reputation. But also I had joined the union, and prior to that I'd done a lot of non-union gigs. So between the teaching and the playing, it gave me some kind of an audience, if you will, so that when I opened the doors in 81, at least somebody would come in the door, because I had a teaching practice going and some kind of a playing reputation. So all of that helped. The fact that I always enjoyed it helped a lot too.
And the idea was to have a drum shop specializing in only drums.
Strictly percussion, yeah. Focusing on drum set more than anything else, but we did have all the Latin, you know, the congas and the timbales and bongos. But we didn't get heavily into the classical aspect of it, you know. So it was really a drum set, drum shop, more or less.
With the brotherhood of the drumming community come in and get a wing nut if they need it, or
exactly.
Or a spring for their foot pedal. Usually on the way to the gig because their foot pedal broke and they needed to.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of people like yourself ended up also teaching at the shop.
And you gave me a job that was involved in music. I was making money teaching music, learning how to be a teacher. One of the things that you taught me that I hadn't really gotten from many other, or I don't see people teaching, is you would say take a double paradiddle, 6 notes, and take those and orchestrate them on the drum set. The paradiddle, right?
Yeah.
And you put your right hand on the hi-hat.
You got a funk beat.
That opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Very simple. Not only did you teach me the foundation of the rudiments and how to read and all that stuff, which I was reluctant to do. Reading was not my forte, but we got through it. You taught me how to be creative on my own. Take this, see what you got, and I would show you. Oh, that's very good. Okay, do 20, 30 more ideas.
Exactly.
So it opened my mind to be empowered to create anything I wanted by a simple idea. And then the melodic sense, too. Singing while doing a solo, Frere Jacques.
See what I mean?
You know, to be melodic on the drums, that's key. You don't hear too many drum teachers talking about the melodic sense. We're playing music, and that's where I just took that and ran, because I'm a melodic by nature. I'm a singer. I'm a songwriter, and I play drums with a sense of what else is going on around me.
You understand the whole picture. A lot of them don't. And a lot of teachers, unfortunately, don't get into that. They just give a drum lesson. You know?
Right. In the most potent years of DiCenso's drum shop, we had a group of teachers. We had meetings with the teachers.
Remember that? Yeah.
And, talking about how can we improve our teaching. You were passionate. You still are passionate about the educational part.
I think what I always wanted and still want is to help those who take it seriously enough to help them remember their roots, but also give them their wings. And you seem to have done both rather well, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look what we're doing today.
Yeah.
If you didn't remember your roots, we probably wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And if you didn't find your wings, you probably wouldn't be as successful as you are.
Thank you. That's nice.
Pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Yeah. My pleasure. You're a powerful force in this South Shore, powerful force. Putting on the drum clinics in a tiny drum shop. I mean, this place is tiny too. I think the other place was tinier, fitting 50 people.
Imagine.
And bringing in these clinicians to teach drums. And those were incredible. I went to most of them. Yeah. And just the educational aspect and spreading the word about a craft. Not only to be a better musician, but to be a better person. You taught me organizational skills that I did not have. I still struggle with organization, but
it's a full-time gig.
Yeah, but I was inspired by the way you would organize a lesson outline, or even how you had your books organized. To me, your power of example was something that I was inspired by, and I would emulate that. You didn't have to say anything. I could just look around and how your stuff was organized. And like, Jesus. And I'd see how methodical you were, and I need to be like that. So without even saying anything. As a kid, you reached me just by a power of example.
Well, I'm glad. That's great. It's important to be organized. I still work on that, but it's not something I've perfected, but it's important. You want to be able to find something when you need it. It's not
as simple as that, right?
It's that simple.
The melodic nature of drums, which isn't talked about a lot. You also talked about the music business and how I could possibly organize my life to be. You said you were trying to get me inspired to take my musical ability seriously, to bring in money and live off of it as a musician. You said to me, "You are Joe Merrick Incorporated." That just stuck with me. And
what did that mean to you at the time?
It meant that I was not just some schlep who played drums. I was a business owner, a business entity, something to put on a card, business card. Joe Merrick, drummer, for hire. From then on, I was self-employed, at the age of 19. Self-employed, off and run it, empowered. I can get a gig here, I can get a gig, I can make a phone call, I can get a gig, and I can pay for my truck and gas or whatever. It was a working musician. And you planted that idea. And that's for someone like me who definitely doesn't want to be told what to do and doesn't want a boss. That's huge. That's huge.
Great.
Yeah. So regardless of somebody wants to make a career out of music, what's the importance of people that just want to learn a craft, young children, and how that's sort of lost in the education and the school systems?
Mm-hmm. Well, personally, I think that regardless what you might want to do with music, if you learn to play a musical instrument, and if you're committed to, let's say, a half hour a day, because it's a hobby for you, it's something you're interested in, but you don't necessarily want to make it your life's work, that's fine. Just as it's fine if you practice 8 hours a day because you're committed to it and it's going to be your life's long work. The benefit, regardless of which person we're talking about, is that you learn so much about life itself just by learning to play a musical instrument. You learn what it means to be committed, to be focused, to make the mental and physical effort to learn something, and then when on Saturday you can do something that you couldn't do on Monday, man, you feel great. You have more self-confidence, more self-respect. You have that gas in your tank to keep going, because the fact that you accomplish something motivates you to keep going. And if you learn just that alone through music, you've learned a great lesson in life, and you should enjoy a better life because of it. It's a shame that a lot of parents seem to overlook what a wonderful gift they could give their children just to expose them to music. Regardless of what they want to do with it, they'll benefit in many ways beyond learning to play the instrument, I think. I've seen it happen.
So. Yeah. I remember when it happened for me, I wasn't practicing enough. And you were like, you got to practice more. What's up? My mother's like, you got to practice. And I'm like, no, I just want to play Rush songs. I just want to play Alice Cooper. I'm cool with that. I don't understand why I need to learn bass bops and paradiddles. I don't get it. And then, but I got angry, and I said, fine, both of you, just shut up. And I practiced for a week or two. Exactly what you told me. I'm, damn, practice. And like you said, something I didn't have Saturday, I had Monday or whatever. And I started to go, wow, I'm getting better.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was hooked. I was hooked.
See?
Because I knew I could make myself better.
And you felt better about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great. It's a great lesson, I think. This here, well, it got published. I published it, and it got copyrighted, I guess is the word, in 1971. And finally, I think a couple of weeks ago, I had it kind of matted and framed and decided to put it up, because it's kind of the backbone of my teaching method, and it's very much like what we talked about, applying the rudiments.
A supplementary text which clearly shows how the rudiments can be applied to contemporary rhythms is how they both can be applied to the drum set collectively or individually.
There you go, man. So anyway, a lot of the people you see on the wall, Joseph, you were around when that happened. We had Louis Belson at North Quincy High School. We had
That was a great clinic with Steve
Gadd.
Yeah.
We had Dave Weckel, Steve Smith. We even had the pleasure of Vic Firth being with us several times.
That's awesome.
See him in the corner there. So we've had a lot of great, and there's a great picture up there with Armin Zildjian, who shared many Zildjian days with us at the old shop in Quincy. We had a lot of fun with him. So there's a little history on the wall.
Absolutely. Davy D.
Davy D, yeah. Mystery Jones.
I remember that clinic too.
Yeah. That clinic was unique. We had, 50 some odd people in that little drum shop, people sitting on the floor. And Roy was playing a solo, and one young man got pretty ill and vomited on the floor. And Roy stopped and he said, I didn't think my playing was that bad. And we had to clean the shop quickly and come back for the next one.
So in talking about the techniques that you taught me and what I'm using when I'm doing these drum tracks for the albums, for this album, Priscilla, I was talking in another vlog that the drum parts for recording are really the blueprint. They're really the future of what's going to be added on top of what you played.
You do the drum tracks.
I do the drum tracks. I put scratch, piano, and vocal, and the arrangement is there, and I put these drum parts down. But one key element, one key ability that I have directly from the lessons that you taught me was playing with a metronome, because all of my stuff is mapped out with a click. And practicing with a metronome and learning even something simple with the metronome, and understanding your feeling, how you're sensing time over a quarter note pulse, whatever that is, 76 beats per minute. And knowing when you're rushing, and knowing when you're dragging, and then knowing how it feels. Because you could get 20 people to play this,
That's right.
and they all play it differently.
The slower the tempo, the wider the space, the more you have to internally fill it up so you land on the click.
Yeah.
So this concept of subdividing and dealing with the space being probably more important than the click, because that's how you're going to get to the click.
Right.
It's pretty important. And you probably do that without even thinking about it. Or maybe
I had
you
to
do.
at one point, though. I remember talking about the subdivision. Some people want just a click, and I feel there's more margin of error for me. If it's so, when I have a click track,
You do that.
I have 16-note subdivisions.
That's great. That's the subdivision.
And we talked. That's directly from you. And the drum parts are more of like what I would do with these songs that I'm creating. But all that's in there, all that stuff that we talked about as a young kid, being able to play and have the chops, just sitting here and doing chops for hours, working on the technique, working on the rudiments, that's in my drum tracks. That's in there. Even, I don't think about it anymore because it's internalized. It's part of me now. But that started at your house in Kylie Drive, working and me understanding that a 5-stroke roll, a 6-stroke roll, a 7-stroke roll is pertinent to being a cool rock drummer.
Well, I got to tell you this, Joseph. When you teach as much as I do, what keeps me going is hearing things like what you have said from people like yourself, because you sometimes wonder, is what I'm doing worthwhile? Does it mean anything? And it gets reinforced beautifully by some beautiful people.
You're going to make me cry.
Like yourself. Don't cry. But I mean that sincerely.
Thank you.
It's very important.
Thank you.
That's why I know you have your roots and you got your wings.
It takes a bit of faith at times, doesn't it?
It does.
To sort of believe what you're teaching a kid. You might not see it until, I was a very undisciplined young lad when I met you. All I wanted to do was play my Rush songs. I had the ability to play them. I didn't understand the importance of it, but you stuck to your guns and had some faith, and
You did.
and I believed in you, and
Thank you.
there it is.
I'm glad. Glad we could do this today.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.
Is it cool to get a hug?
Absolutely.
Love you, baby.
I love you with all my heart.
Keep cooking.
All right.